structure seller financing right, you can reduce the amount of cash you need to buy a business by up to 100%. So specifically, we're talking about the SBA 7A loan, which is what's commonly used to buy businesses, and that everyone in the United States, every US citizen, has up to $5 million they can spend through that program. So that program requires a 10% down payment. But that down payment doesn't have to come from the buyer. It can come from the seller in either the form of the seller retaining some equity ownership in the business or providing seller financing that is on standby for 24 months. And standby means no interest or principal payments during that time period. But pumping the brakes on that a little bit, most lenders won't allow you to buy a business with zero down, even though the SBA program will. And what the lenders are typically looking for if someone is going to get that sweet zero down deal is someone that currently works for the company. They're buying a company that they work for. They're already in a leadership position in that company. Then some lenders will allow 2.5% to come from the buyer if the buyer has at least 2 years of industry experience within the industry that they're buying. And then every other deal, it's typically 5% down. So your worst case scenario is that you can have half of the down payment come from you, the buyer, or your backers, your investors, and the other half come from the seller. And now we're referring to seller financing to help make your down payment. We do see a lot of people out there talk about 100% seller finance deals. Now, 100% seller finance deals theoretically do exist. They happen all the time, but it's more like hitting a lottery ticket. It's more like making a plan that I'm gonna go out and my plan is to hit a scratch off for $100,000. You're probably not gonna find one. And then if you do, it's usually because there's something very wrong with the business is why they're willing to provide that seller finance, which sometimes the thing that's wrong that prevents it from being financeable, might still work for you. So you can get some good deals that way. But often it does seem when people come to us with a deal that they've made for 100% seller finance deal and ask us to look it over, it's because they're paying like more than twice what the business is worth. And that's why the seller is willing to seller finance it. But any deal, the amount of seller financing is negotiable. We almost always try to get 10 to 20% in seller financing. That's our range. We walk away from any deal where a seller won't provide any. That's just not gonna work. That's one of our biggest no-goes. But 100% seller financing is something that really only exists on Instagram, not in the real world.